Okay, then we shall start now. So in the previous lecture, what we did is the following. We were having one SLPP, and then suppose that we have one BFS, and at that BFS we computed the relative cost factor. And if the relative cost factor, assuming that we had a minimization SLPP, so if that relative cost factor has entries greater than equal to 0, then we could conclude that that BFS is minimum. But if that relative cost factor that has a negative entry, then we wanted to find one more BFS which has value lesser than this one. So to do that, what we did, that at the current BFS we formed the simplex table. Now in the simplex table, what we observed, that each of the non-basic variable gives us a direction to move out of the current BFS. Now if we move in one direction given by one basic variable, one non-basic variable, then the value of the objective function will change by the amount of the corresponding relative cost factor. Okay, that we observed. So that is fine. Based on that, we'll have the simplex algorithm. Now here is a remark. Actually, there are two parts. One, suppose that you are looking at one non-basic variable XR. Okay, for which one non-basic variable, let's say I am looking at one non-basic variable XR, and for which you have this CR, I mean C bar entry, that is negative. So I know that the direction that I get, so assuming that I am at W star, in this direction if I move, then the value will increase. If you move alpha unit, then the value will decrease. If I move alpha unit, then it will be alpha times C bar R. That is the difference that is going to happen. But the thing is that it may so happen that the extent of movement may actually turn out to be 0. That may happen. Okay, we'll see many examples there. So actually in that case, whatever vertex you were at that stage, you will remain at the same vertex also after even moving, because you move by 0 unit. Only that the basis will change. We'll see those cases. The other case is that is this example. In this example, assume that you are standing at this vertex E. So that will come as a BFS. What is ABCD? The coordinates are written. Actually, ABCD is lying on the XY plane. Okay, so in R3 on the XY plane, ABCD is lying. And since we have x greater than equal to 0, y greater than equal to 0, z greater than equal to 0, actually in that case, this square pyramid gets defined by its 4 upper faces. Okay, as soon as you define the 4 upper faces, so that will give you 4 inequations, 4 inequality. Okay, so when you write SLPP, because of that 4 inequality, you will add 4 more variables. So ultimately it will become an SLPP in 7 variables. Okay, Now, if you are standing at this vertex E, notice that there are 4 directions coming out. However, if you are looking at a BFS, at a basis, then the basis will consist of 4 variables. Okay, so therefore, only 3 non-basic variables will be available for that basis, and hence they will be giving you only 3 directions. They will not be giving you all possible directions to come out of the vertex. So that may happen. This was just a remark. Okay, you can try to write down the simplex table at this vertex E, and then see what is happening. Okay, that is no problem. Okay, so whatever we have done till now via example, now this can be summarized as a general theorem, and this is what it says. So suppose that you are looking at optimization of C transpose X subject to, so suppose that you are looking at, so right now you really do not need to say minimize or maximize, because you want to travel outside, I mean outside of a particular. Suppose this is the SLPP that you are looking at, and assume that W star is this is a BFS. Okay, a basic feasible solution. A basic feasible solution is one that represents a vertex. So it has a basis. So we write a basis. So let's say basis is B. Okay. Then the simplex table. What is the simplex table at this? Now the simplex table looks like this. The simplex table would be looking like the basic variables. So here you will be writing the basis elements, and here you will have x1 to xn, and then B bar, and here the matrix will be B inverse time A, and here the constant column, that will be B inverse time B, and here you will have C bar transpose, which is C transpose minus CB transpose B inverse A, that one, and this is minus FW, F minus of FW star, whatever it is. Okay. So now suppose that XR is a non-basic variable. Non-basic variable. Then what is the direction given by, so the direction D, the direction given by XR. What is that direction? Now that direction vector is described in this way. See, D vector will have 2 parts. One is the DB part, and the DB part is nothing but I will write that part. Okay. First of all, in the DC part, what we do, we put all zeros, okay, non-basic part, except that we put a 1 at XR position, everything else is 0. This is in Rth position, okay, XR position. And here what you do, now here what we put, here we put the, let me put this, minus of B inverse of A Rth column. So that is basically the Rth column of A bar by our notation. This matrix A bar is this matrix. This particular matrix is A bar. This one is sometimes written as A bar. So whatever is there under XR, that column you write that with a minus sign. That is what you write. That is the direction. So direction comes with dB, that is equal to minus of that column. Rth entry d of r equal to 1 and other entries are 0. That is how you get the direction. Okay. And if you are traveling from W star by alpha unit, then the functional value of this is actually the functional value of FW star plus alpha times the relative cost, Rth relative cost. So if the relative cost is negative, then the new vertex that you are, the new point that you have gone, that will have lesser value. If it is positive, it will have more value. So that is what B says. This is in general. Okay. Now the question is, suppose that you notice how the vector direction vector D is being defined. D is being defined as the negative of the rth column and D of r equal to 1, other entries are 0. So if somebody has given me the following, that suppose that the relative cost CR is less than 0, this is assumed, and also the rth column of this matrix is less than equal to 0, that is negative of that is greater than equal to 0, in like equivalently saying that the rth column of A bar is less than equal to 0. Suppose this is also given. So in that case, you would conclude that D is always greater than equal to 0. Because by definition of D, the B part is negative of A bar rth column, and the C part, the non-basic part, consists of only one entry 1, other entries are 0. So the entries of D are greater than equal to 0, which basically means, this means if you travel from W star by any positive extent, the entries of this will always remain greater than equal to 0. Because W star anyway was a point, and so it has entries greater than equal to 0. And you are moving, you are traveling by a positive extent, so alpha is greater than equal to 0. D has entries greater than equal to 0. So it will mean that this point will always remain feasible. So you can travel, that basically means starting from that vertex W star, a ray is available completely inside the feasible set. The ray that starts from W star and goes in the direction of D, okay, parallel to the direction of D. And what happens now along this ray, if you take any point, what we know is that f of W star plus alpha D, that is equal to f of W star, which is a fixed value, plus alpha times CR, I mean C bar rth entry, which is negative. Therefore, this will go to minus infinity as alpha goes to infinity. So if you travel far away in that, on that ray, the functional value will decrease and become very high negative value, which would imply that the function cannot have a minimum on the feasible set. Okay, so this is another condition. Okay, this is another condition. So what now, if there are two conditions now. If the relative cost vector is greater than equal to 0, they conclude that you are at a minimum. Now suppose that the relative cost vector has a negative entry. Let's say C bar R is less than equal to 0. Then look at the rth column, the corresponding column of the simplex table. If that is less than equal to 0, then conclude that a minimum cannot be attained. So this is another test. Okay, so it is the test for unboundedness of the objective function. That is what it says of the objective function. It says if C bar R is less than 0 and the rth column of the simplex table, that is rth column of A bar, is less than 0, then the objective function is not bounded below. So you cannot get a minimum. Okay. Now so what happens? Now suppose that rth column of A bar, rth column of A bar has some positive entries. Okay. In that case, what do you want to do? Now I actually want to, it has some positive entry, huh? So since it has some positive entry, what has happened? Now I want to move from W star in the direction of D as much as possible. Okay. In fact, let me erase W star. W star has two parts. Let me write this way. Okay. In the direction of D as much as possible. Now W star has two parts. One is W star B, the basic part, and the W star C, the non-basic part. The non-basic part, by definition of being a basic solution, it will be 0. And what is the basic part? Now the basic part which I know is to be B inverse B. This is the basic part. Fine, no problem. And what about alpha? Now the non-basic part I know is like at one place it is 0. I mean at one place it is 1 and at other places it is 0. This is of D. And what about the basic part? Now the basic part was minus of the rth column of A bar. That is. And now that you have said this rth column of A bar has some positive entries. So that means alpha cannot be arbitrarily large, because in that case, see, this one is fixed. This W star is a fixed one. This is a fixed one. Okay. So if you take alpha arbitrarily large, then these entries will be negative. Okay. So there is a maximum extent that you can go. You cannot go beyond that. Now, how do you find that maximum extent? Now, the only place where I will have to be careful is that where the rth column has some positive entries. So I will have to choose. Suppose that I am looking at the rth column. Okay. And then I am looking at B bar. This is B inverse B. And assume that this particular entry is bigger than 0. Well, this particular entry is bigger than 0. What is this? Now this is B bar 2. Let me write that way. B bar 2. Then how much that I can take? So this one let me write as A bar 2 comma R. That is second row rth entry. That. So how much can I go? So because I am going to, basically I am looking at B2 bar minus alpha time A2R, and I don't want it to be, I mean, I want it to be always remain greater than equal to 0. So that would mean that alpha will be less than equal to B2 bar divided by A2R bar. And this has to be satisfied at every place Similar thing has to be satisfied at every place the rth column is positive. So therefore the maximum extent of alpha is equal to minimum of AIR bar, the positive entries, and their ratio. So wherever the column has positive entries, you take BI bar by the rth entry of the column. Sorry, ith entry, A bar IR, and that minimum, that is the maximum extent that you can move. So this one, in that case, you have to determine this one, and this gives you the maximum extent that you can move. Okay. Now, if you move this much extent, what will happen is the following. So let me take an example where the basis is like x1, x2, xm, and here is xr. Okay, and let's say a1 r bar. Okay, I am just looking at this. So assume that the maximum is attained, and maximum is attained for the first row. Assume that the maximum is attained for the first row. Then what does it mean? Now it means if you are actually looking at W star plus alpha max D, then the first entry will be 0, because the equality is attained. That will be 0. Okay. So that means the first variable which was in the basic, now I can make it non-basic. Okay. So this will go out. This will go out. So this is what is called the outgoing variable. Okay. And what happens? Now see, x1 was the first basic variable. So in capital A bar, the column was like 1000 E1. But what do you know? Now I know A bar 1 R, that was positive. In fact, that is how this equality alpha max was B1 bar divided by A bar 1 R. That is how it was computed. So it is positive. This fellow is positive. So rest of the columns like x2 to xm, they are there without any problem. So only thing is that I am trying to remove x1. Then what variable should I replace it with? Now you replace it with xr, because xr has that corresponding entry positive, so that column can be easily converted to 1000, that kind of thing. E1, it can be easily converted to E1. So this entry is called a pivot. Okay. And what I see is that earlier I had the columns below x1, x2, xm linearly independent. Now also I have the columns below xr, x2, x3 up to xm. They are also linearly independent, because columns below x2 to xm, they are like e2, e3 up to em, and xr and each of these columns like e2 up to em, they all have the first entry 0, and the column below xr, that is, this is a bar column comma r, that has the first entry positive. So that is linearly independent of, like, it is independent of e2 to em. So overall this is again linearly independent. And therefore this implies xr, x2, x3 up to xm, this is a basis. Okay, and therefore the new solution that you have got, that is W star plus alpha max D, is a BFS. You just found out that the columns corresponding to, you just found out a basis. Actually the basis is xr, x2, x3, xm. This is a basis. So that is why it is a basis. So summarizing this, what happens now? If C bar is greater than equal to 0, conclude that it is minimum. If some entry C bar R is less than 0 and the corresponding column of the simplex table, that is A bar rth column, is less than equal to 0, conclude that the objective function is not bounded below. Otherwise, compute alpha max and your next vertex is W star plus alpha max D, and this one has value lesser than equal to the vertex W star. So based on that, so that is what it says. So it is a BFS. This one is a BFS, and it has value lesser than equal to that of W star. Okay. Okay. So based on this idea, in 1947, Danzig presented the algorithm. Okay, this algorithm that at every stage you check for C bar, you check for the minimality. If it is greater than equal to 0, then it is minimal. If some rth entry is negative of the relative cost vector and the corresponding column is less than equal to 0, then conclude that it is unbounded. Otherwise, this is the alpha max. This is the alpha max. Evaluate the maximum extent that you can travel and go to the next BFS and repeat. Okay. Now, while doing the computation, in order to reduce the computation, as you have observed, that if since I had suppose this was the rth entry, like that is, this is what C bar R that was less than 0, and assume that x1 was the x1 to xm was basis. So this entry was the pivotal entry. So in that case, as I already have changed, as in A bar, in capital A bar, that is this matrix, the matrix, whole matrix that you are seeing over here. The column below x2 is already E2, so I don't have to do any I don't have to perform any operation to convert it to E2 because it is already there. So here to get the next table, what you do, instead of x1 you write xr in that place and just convert this one to 1, the pivotal entry to 1, and the rest of the entries over here to 0. This conversion you have to do, so that this is the minimum operation that you do, and also change this to 0. By the time you have done this much of operation, whatever table you have, you already have the table for the next BFS by doing this much of operation only. Okay. It will be clear from this example. Let me take and you will understand. So here is the problem. Assume that I have to minimize minus x1 minus x2, and this is problem is given in the SLPP format. So what is my problem table? Now the problem table is the following. Problem table is like BB x1 x2 x3 x4 x5, and this is B. Here you have star, you don't have anything, you just write the matrix 0 0 2. This means x1 plus x2 plus x3 equal to 2. Then x1 minus x2 plus x4 equal to 1, and then x2 plus x5 equal to 1. And what do I have to minimize? I have to minimize minus x1 minus x2, that I have to minimize over here. This is my problem table, and I fine, that part is fine. It says apply simplex method starting with the basis x3 x4 x5. So what I do now, I replace, instead of okay, so let me rewrite simplex table at the basis x3 x4 x5. You have to do the same thing, x1 x2 x3 x4 x5. For understanding, I am repeating this one, but you really do not have to repeat if you once you understand what you are going to do. So first I will write x3 x4 x5. Then I will write the whole matrix over here, and B here, and I will ensure that the column below x3 should be looking like, x3 is the first basic variable, should be looking like 1 0 0, which is already the case. The column below x4 0 1 0, that is the second basic variable. Column below the third basic variable is 0 0 1. So I really do not have to do anything. Had you written x4 x3 x5, you would have to do interchange column, interchange rows. So I'll not do anything over here, as columns below the basic variable have appropriate structure. And then in order to convert it to the simplex table, what do I have to do? Now I will have to make sure that the entries of C below the basic variables are 0, but they are already 0. So therefore, I simply write them. I don't do anything. So this is the simplex table at the basic variables or the basis x3, x4, x5. Okay. This corresponds to a BFS. Do you know what BFS is it? Now that BFS is easy. What BFS it corresponds to? Now W star will be 0 at the non-basic variables. So non-basic variables are x1, x2. So 0, 0. x3 is equal to 2. You see, there is the B element. So you write B bar over here. The B bar element to the right of x3 is 2. So that is W star value. Next one is x4, 1 is 1. x5, 1 is 1. This is the BFS, corresponding BFS you are talking about. This is the corresponding vertex you are at. So at this BFS, This is your simplex table. Fine. Now what? Now I am seeing C bar. C bar has some negative entries. So then what? Now then I have to choose one negative entry and go in that direction, whatever direction is given. Which one I want to choose? Well, in the bottom I have selected x2. So here let me select x1. So suppose I am selecting this one. That means I am looking at 1 1 0. Okay, that is the point. That is the thing I am looking at. So in that case, it says, the simplex algorithm says, evaluate alpha max. How do you evaluate alpha max? It says, take the ratios wherever that column has positive entries, take the ratio. So here it is 2 by 1 and here it is 1 by 1. Wherever it is positive, take those ratios, and whichever is minimum, that is the place. So this is the place. Okay, so in that case, what is happening now? X4 will go out. Okay, sorry, what will go out? Now x4 will go out, and in its place you will have to write x1. So you write again BV x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, B bar. So I am going to write the next simplex table. What I have already understood, in the next simplex table, what is going to happen? X3, and I am going to write x1. This is the entering, huh? This one is entering and this one is going out. And x5. This is minus f, and I will have to do something. Here, what do I have to do? Now, whatever is that pivot, see what went out. Now, x4 went out. X4 column was like what? Now, 0, 1, 0. So, I will have to make this particular column, which is below x1, 0, 1, 0. It has to be a replica of that only. So, I already have the pivotal entry 1. Only thing is that the first row has to have a 0. So, there, what I do, I like R1 minus R2, row 1 minus row 2. So that if I do, that will make it 0, 2, 1, minus 1, 0, 1. The first, I mean, this entry was 1, pivotal entry was 1. So let it remain 1, 1 minus 1. I don't have to do anything there. 0, 1. The next entry has to be 0, but it is already 0, so I don't do anything there. Next, what do I do? Now I have to make the entry below the basic variable, that is below x1. I have to make it 0. Right now it is minus 1. Okay, so what do I do? Now I can add the second row to this. So if I add the second row to this one, what do I get? Now I can get 0 over here, minus 2 over here, 0 over here, 1 over here, 0 over here, and 1 over here. Oh, by the way, W star was your BFS earlier, and what was the value? FW star? FW star was 0. This is minus FW star. So FW star was 0. The value was 0. Here what happened? Now I have come to a new basis, x3, x1, x5. What is the W star I am talking about here? Now the W star is the following. X1 is equal to 1, x2 non-basic 0, x3 is equal to 1, x4 non-basic 0, x5 is equal to 1. And what is the value? Now the value is -1. Okay, this is 1, so this is -1. Okay, and why not? If you are trying to see at fx1 x2, that is -x1 minus x2, then that will be -1 automatically. I mean, that is the value. Fine. So the algorithm now will check C bar greater than equal to 0. No, C bar is not greater than equal to 0. C bar has a negative entry. Is the corresponding column less than equal to 0 or less than equal to 0? No. That column has some positive entries. If that column has some positive entries, then what you do, you for those positive entries, you consider the ratios 1 divided by 2 and then 1 divided by 1. Whatever is the smallest, box it. That is your pivot. Okay, so this is my pivot, and this means I am going to throw this one out, and in its place I will keep this one, x2. X2 is coming, x3 is going out. Okay, so what is my next table? Now my next table will be like this. BV x1, x2, x3, x4, x5, B bar. Okay, and then I will be writing x2, x1, x5. And what do I have to do? Now the pivotal entry there has to be converted to 1, and the rest of the entries in that column have to be converted to zeros. So pivotal entry has to be converted to 1, so that will be 0, 1, half. Elementary row operation, multiplying a row by scalar is allowed. Minus half, 0, half. Fine. The next entry below has to be 0. So what I do now, first row multiplied by half added to the second. So that will be 1, that will be 0, that will be half, that will be half, that will be 0, that will be 3 by 2. And then the next one, now the first row divided by 2 subtracted from it. First row divided by 2 subtracted from it, that will be 0, minus half, plus half, 0, half. Okay, and then what? Now you have to make the corresponding that C bar entry, that also 0. For that I just add that pivotal row to this one, so that will make it 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, and then 2. Okay, so what is the W star now? Now the W star is x1 is equal to 3 by 2, x2 equal to half, x3 equal to 0, x4 equal to 0, x5 equal to half. Okay, this is the W star, and FW star. Now FW star is equal to -2. Now, so this is the final. This is the new vertex that you are at, the new BFS. Is this a minimal BFS? Now, yes. The C bar here I am seeing C bar has all entries greater than equal to 0. So therefore, we are at a minimal BFS. And the algorithm will stop now. Okay. Here also, I have done the same thing, except that I took as pivotal entry x2, done the same calculation, you will get the same thing. Okay. Here a minimal solution is obtained at another BFS, and that is 11010. Okay, so that is fine. I mean, nobody is saying that there is a unique minimal solution. You can get many BFS, so that is fine. That is no problem. Okay, so at least that clears it. Fine. Value, of course, will be -2. Each of them will have the same value. Some practice problems that you can do. Right. So whenever this is the, I mean, this is a social theorem, not mathematical theorem, social theorem, that whenever you have a very good idea, when you are trying to implement, you will see problems. There are problems. So many a time having an algorithm, idea of an algorithm is fine, but while implementing, you will realize that there may be difficulties. So similar difficulty happens over here for cycling. This is for cycling. What happens? Now see, by the way, how did the simplex algorithm work? Now simplex algorithm, in order that the simplex algorithm would work, you will have to feed the computer the SLPP matrix A, capital A. You will have to feed it B, the constant column B. You will have to feed it C transpose, the cost vector C transpose, and you will have to feed it an initial basis to start with. So if it has a basis, then it knows how to compute the simplex table. Then it knows how to test for minimality. Then it knows how to test for unbounded. Then it knows if none of them are occurring, then how to get the new basis. And then it will keep on checking. I mean, repeating again and again and again. And you only hope that because there are finitely many vertices, so the process will stop. But the problem is, since it is checking basis, it may so happen that in case you have a degenerate kind of BFS, that means a vertex with too many zero entries, okay, a lot of zero entries. In that case, what will happen, that every time you are trying to compute alpha max, it will come out to be 0. Why? Now that B bar column has only zero entries, many zero entries. So whatever you are dividing, it will be like 0 divided by 5, 0 divided by 3, minimum 0. So that kind of a thing will happen. So every time what is happening, you were at a vertex, and with respect to a basis, the simplex table was formed. Now what has happened? Now it found that alpha max and alpha max is 0. That means it has found a direction to move out, but the amount it moved is actually 0. That means it stood at the same vertex. Only that it changed the basis. Instead of some x1, it has now replaced it with some x7 or something. If the earlier basis was x1, x2, x3, now it is like x7, x2, x3. The basis would look like that. Some basis element has been changed, but you are standing at the same physical corner, same vertex. That is where you are standing. And it may so happen that it can check, it can go like, first it will have a basis B1, then it will check to B2, then likewise it will check to BK, and then again it will come back to B1. It may so happen. So that is cycling. And if that happens, you never know how long the computer will take. I mean, how many times it will cycle over there. So that is a problem. So to recover from this situation, and this happens when you have the degenerate cases, that is 0 in the B bar column. That means the vertex has too many 0 entries. The basic variables have 0 entries. Okay, basic variables have value 0. That is when it can happen. In the non-degenerate case, it will not happen because alpha is definitely positive, and so you are going out of that vertex physically. So that cannot happen. So you are really moving to something. But here it is not moving, it is only cycling. I mean, like only doing the calculation, changing the basis, and then coming back again. So that is called cycling. And in about 1977, remember the Danzig gave the algorithm in 47, right? 30 years later, so this was R.G. Bland, he gave the one of the simplest rules. He said, in such cases, what you do, you always choose. So in C bar has some negative entries, na? If C bar has some negative entries, choose the entering variable that has the smallest subscript. That is, if X4 corresponding entry has like C bar 4 is negative and C bar 7 is negative, independent of how much negative they are, whether which one is -5, which one is -7, don't bother. You choose the smallest subscript as the entering. And similarly, while outgoing also, choose the smallest subscript to go out. Okay. If you do that, then the cycling will not occur. Okay. The proof is written over here. You can read it. So that was 1977. Earlier, I mean, anyway, you read it. That's not the main point. So what is Bland's rule is also known as the smallest subscript rule. That is, the smallest subscript negative entry, that is the entering variable, and out of those equality, wherever the equality was satisfied, out of them you select the smallest subscript to go out. Okay, this is the proof, but you can read it. Okay, let me illustrate this one, what is happening over here. So consider this problem. Okay, and what is that? Now this is the SLPP, and we want to minimize, as we said. Okay, we want to minimize x1 plus x2 plus x3 plus x4 subject to these things. Okay, now what you do, let us check the simplex table at x2, x6, x2, x1, x8, the first one. If you do this one, the simplex table, you have only one negative entry. This is the one negative entry. And in that column, you have only one positive entry. So you are forced, the next one is this one. This is forced. This one is forced. First conversion is forced. You don't have any choice here. Okay. Then there, so what happened? Now x7 entered and x1 went out. Okay, x7 entered. So that is what happened. X2, x6, x2, x7, and x8. Now you do the corresponding simplex table. Okay, in that simplex table, what we did? Now we kept this entry to be 1, and the remaining we changed to 0. Right? You see, that is what we have done over here. Now we see you have some negative entries. Now yes, I have 3 negative entries. Okay, and what I have chosen? Now I have chosen the most negative entry. Acha, most negative entry has a good story. What is this? Now this most negative entry will give me a direction in which taking one step will decrease by an element, the objective function value will decrease by 1. Whereas the other directions, if I take 1 unit, I mean 1 step, the objective function value will decrease by half only. So it would give you a feeling that if I take this direction, I will reach the minimum very quickly. Okay, but that is not true. That is, I mean, I will give you many counter examples later. But going by that greedy kind of spirit, what happened? I selected this -1. Whereas Bland's rule says you should select x3 because that is the variable with smallest subscript available to enter. Okay, but suppose I selected x4 to enter. Now because I selected x4 to enter, what is going out? Now x6 is going out. Okay, x4 coming in. So my next table would be, in place of x6 I have x4, x2, x7, x8, and that the column below x4 is now converted to 1 0 0 0. Pivotal element becomes 1. Rest of the entries are 0, including the C bar entry. Okay, so now therefore I am at a new basis. Okay, every time notice the alpha max is 0. So basically I am actually standing at the same physical point, but the computer is playing. It is going on generating simplex table for different bases. So right now it has generated the basis. It has generated the simplex table for x2, x4, x7, x8. So from there I have only one choice because there is only one negative entry, and in that column there is only one positive entry. So x2 will go out and x5 will come in. In the next one, I have two choices. One is x1, one is x6. I have taken x1. Here I followed the Bland's rule, but actually only half part. And here 0 comes by x4, x7, and x8 place. These are the positive entries. I selected x7, but if you are actually following Bland's rule, you should select x4 to go out. It is the smallest subscript available to go out. So then Bland's rule would say you should select x4, but I selected x7. Doesn't matter. So next table, x4, x5. In place of x7, I have x1 and x8. So here I have the simplex table. Only one entry, negative. And it has two positive entries, x4, x8, but I selected 3. Okay. x6 comes in, x4 goes out. So I have x6, x5, x1, and x8 in the last table. And there I have selected x2 to come in and x5 to go out. That means the next basis will be x6, x2, x1, x8, which is the starting basis. So there is a way, there is a chance, if you do not specify any rule to the computer, there is a chance that the computer will simply keep on generating tables after tables after tables. I don't know how many times. Okay. So then the Bland's rule says, no, here is the rule, smallest subscript. Entering variable smallest subscript, outgoing variable smallest subscript, and you will not encounter any cycle. Okay. And some exercises are here. Okay. Any questions if you want to ask, you can ask. Otherwise, we stop.